Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of Military Smooth. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And we're going to talk about the afterlife. The afterlife. What's afterlife? The life after. Now check this out. Before we even break down anything, you need to understand that a lot of times there's a misunderstanding on what's really going on behind the veil because of the words that's used and the meanings that y'all have been taught. You need to understand the systematic truth of everything. So before we get into this, let's talk about this. First, the afterlife. Before we get into that, let's break down some of the lost things that you may have on your mind that may block you from being fully aware of this video. So check this out. Let's talk about life and death. A lot of y'all have grew up and have thought about it to be these ways. But you need to understand that life and death is backed and supported by one energy signature. And that's the systematic truth of it. That energy signature that's backed and supporting life and death is transformation. So, before you get spooked out on what it is to live and what life is, and before you get spooked out on what it is to die and what death is, you need to understand transformation. Because life and death is just pulling energy down and y'all trying to understand it from a smaller perspective. And nah, I ain't drinking. This some motherfucking lemon juice with some sea salt and 2 ice cubes, goddammit. And that take your mind to other shit. That's another video. Each fruit, liquid, water, put you into a vibration. Each thought, concept, conversation, idea, the shit that you pay attention to, shit that's on your mind, taps you into a certain frequency. So, as long as you are aware of that, that'll let you know. Understanding frequency vibrations, you can know what level, how high or how low on the frequency vibration scale you are and how much of the chakra or that realm of reality you're giving your attention to. And should you be doing that or not? But that's another video. But let's get into this. Life and death, right? These are the same thing. So you can just look at death being the negative attribute of transformation and life being a positive attribute of transformation. Now, what is transformation backed and supported by? Sex, which is 6. Now, people are probably not understanding that. Why is sex 6? Sex is nothing more, nothing less, but the joining of 2 energies to create another energy. Now, it could be a harmonious sex, or it could be a horrendous sex. A harmonious sex is 9 times out of 10 when 2 opposite energies come together, and they can align themselves together. Negative or harmful sex can be when 2 of the same energy come together and cause friction. You know what I'm saying? This is why when you got too many niggas in one area, it causes a lot of friction and things of that nature. When you got too many bitches in one area, it causes friction. You know what I'm saying? Too many women working in one goddamn area, goddamn, right? But when you get like a little natural blend of things that could create a little harmony amongst the space and location that everybody's trying to create the environment in. See what I'm saying? See how this 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional talk gets you on shit? So, that's sex. So, get out the low vibrational 3rd dimensional realm of what men have taught you sex is, and then you think it's just when male and female come together. You need to know that it is not exclusive to that. Sex is just the joining of 2 energies to come together to create another energy. So, it just does that. Everything does that. You see what I'm saying? And why is sex 6? Because what is 6? 3 plus 3 equals 6. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 represents wholeness in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. Numbers are not adding and subtracting how y'all look at it in the 3rd dimension. In the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, these are frequency vibrations. Anytime we see the signature of a vortex of someone's cloud having a 3, having a 3 alignment with it, that means this is a wholeness, a surrounding, a whole thing, a whole shape and form, a concept, a light, a conscious body, right? So for the most part, when you got 2 3s come together, 2 bodies, 2 forms, 2 concepts coming together, that's energies. 2 energies come together, and that creates sex by default. But in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, that's how we look at it when y'all be utilizing what y'all think y'all counting as 6. You see what I'm saying? So I had to get y'all on this kind of level so you don't be lost throughout this video as I break things down about the afterlife. Now, afterlife. It's a life after. So when you think about life, life is the expansion part of life. I mean, the expansion part of this universe. So you know everything is expanding and contracting. But in order for something to expand, it came from a period of contraction first. So what happens here is, if the expansion represents yang, the masculine energy, life, sustaining, then if you are wrapped up in a realm of reality, or a religion, or a spiritual system, or you're following a certain spirit or a deity that is teaching you a concept of you could live in forever light, or you could live in a shape and form forever, especially if they promising you a circumstance or a situation where you don't have to experience the same woos and woes of the 3rd dimensional aspects of the fleshly fluids and things of that nature, then you need to understand that you are in the highest version of lostness. So I don't give a fuck if you're a religious person or whatever. I am Archangel Uriel, and I am telling you, when you follow a spirit that is promising you to go into a forever lasting life, and aka going into a shape and form, another body in some way, shape, and form, yet it's promising you that you will not experiencing all the baggage that this shape and form have caused you, all the situations you don't want to go through, all the health problems you don't like, all the worrisome and shit like that. If you are wrapped up in some type of situation where you're following a spirit or a religion that is teaching you that you can go into a shape and form without having any woos and woes in a fleshly fluid, a shape and form, a yang, an expansion, if they're promising you that expansion don't have no form of contraction, don't have no form of death, don't have no form of problems, don't have no form of tiredness, boredomness, then you are lost on the highest degree. And I don't care how conscious or how spiritually inclined or how religious you think you are. So you need to keep that in mind also. Because if you're going into a life, a shape and form, a body, the yang always expires. The expansion always contracts. Life always has a death process to it, if you want to look at it in that way. So please do not lose yourself based upon this spirit that you're following and how much intellect that you thought it had gave you. Because logic will get your ass logically lost in the astral realm also. So, a lot of times, if you was to die right now, a lot of y'all, you wouldn't even experience the realm or the world you actually would go to. You actually will experience afterlife. Your ass will experience coming here, back again, in forever light, and forever life. But it's the same circumstance and the situation. Because here's the thing. A lot of y'all watch stories about people on their deathbeds and things of that nature, and watch people before they die. And if you're a heavily religious person, you tie a bunch of your own morality onto this. But here's what you're not understanding, psychologically. When you hear things like, your life flashed before your eyes, your life, your light, things you was consciously aware of, aka memories, things you was attached to. 9 times out of 10, if your life flashed before your eyes, you got some form of regret on your spirit, some memory, some form of attachment to the 3rd dimension on your spirit. Now, here's the thing. In the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, when you have an imagination or a thought, that is a light that you emit in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. So before you die, if you emit in the light, what is light? Light is information. And the information that formulates that light is the frequency vibration that's going to be felt. So if you emit an imagination and the shit that's on your mind is a bunch of worrying, did you sin or not? Did you pray enough? How much regrets? How much things you're going to leave behind? And things of that nature. Then you need to know that the light that you are emitting in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, or the astral realm, or the heavens, or however y'all want to call it here, the light you emit there is impacted with the information of a bunch of shit from this third dimension. So that light is going to look like this light. So when you die and your spirit go in the light, you're going into this light. And it's going to play out in the third dimension as you being born again here. And based upon your state of being that you resonate with, that's going to be the parent, the actual lesser light that you go into. So if you was a business shark, a heavy religious person, a cow, a sheep, you know what I'm saying? A leech, a snake, a tick, politics, an ant, a worm, you know what I'm saying? A whale, whatever you was as your state of being that you was putting your space in, your spirit in, then that's going to be the shape and form you participate in when you come back into this light. Because all that was impacted with the information that you have experienced and paid attention to when you was awake under this light. So what do you think is going on? Why are you following the spirit that's making you think it's something separate than what the fuck I'm talking about? You see what I'm saying? Now, a lot of y'all afterlives is here. So when y'all die and experience afterlife, you experience coming back here. A life after the life you just had. And since the conscious light you emitted for yourself was impacted with so much of this information, I mean, you didn't even add your own imagination. You didn't even add your own thoughts and concepts. You didn't even go inside and to the subconscious realm in your inner self and come up with your own idea, thought, and imagination about the overall realm. You just took all the information from the external realm, aka a person, place, or thing, scenario, or situation, aka shit that was created under these lights, aka the information and concept you put on your mind, aka the information compact consciousness of light that you went into in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, because your ass is lost in this realm. Do you get it? If you're really religious and spiritual, you can't tell me you don't understand what I'm talking about. You can't tell me I'm talking about blasphemy. You can't tell me I'm following some demon shit. You can't tell me I'm not talking about some shit right now. And if you do construct those kind of arguments to what I'm talking about right now, that is just you arguing with yourself and developing and trying to indoctrinate yourself again into some form of lostness. See what I'm saying? Now, if you're a person who have developed the consciousness and the spirit, like the overall spectrum of God, you're supposed to, you know God did things for itself. You know God got its own willpower. You know God had its own imagination. You know God had its own will. So when you have your own imagination, when you have your own will, when you have your own concept, when you have your own creativity, when you have your own imagination, you actually have the spirit of God, because that's what God did. You see what I'm saying? Now, when you lose that and give your power to something else, and go along with an external idea somebody else taught you and their dream and imagination of it, same way like when you hear things like the cat got your tongue and things of that nature, like the cat got your tongue. Now, this goes way back to an ancient myth where we talk about a witch's cat. Now, we know witches are bitches. Now, y'all know I think about things on a whole different level. So when I say bitches, I'm not even talking about the realm of reality that y'all kick it. But what I'm talking about is witch. And when we talk about witches, this is someone who know how to manipulate the vibrations that's going on in the surroundings. So this is someone who know their power. They know the frequency vibration that they are emitting, and they know how to manipulate others who are not aware of how they are emitting their frequency vibrations. So this is a witch. A witch can become an alchemist and utilize a lot of things. Now, when we talk about the cat got your tongue, we talk about the witch's cat. And when a cat got your tongue, that means that it takes your tongue away 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional wise, right? So it takes your idea, it takes your verbal usage of your idea out of your circumstance, right? So that's when the black cat got your tongue, right? So when we talk about that 3rd dimensional wise, right? This is a 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional aspect. Hold on one second. Yeah, my bad. My motherfucking nose started running like a motherfucker. But yeah, I'm gonna blow my nose. But for the most part, yeah, it's like the cat got your tongue. So 3rd dimensional wise, that play out as a circumstance or a situation where someone kind of make you have a loss of words used due to the fact of them using metaphor or something like that. So it's like a metaphor. When you met is when you meet something, and A is for a point of reference. You pointing to a reference for the first time. So A is like a star pointing to a reference for the first time. So any type of circumstance or situation or a person, place, or thing that you're naming for the first time, you will put A in front of that. Like, okay, that's A this or A that, pointing to something for the first time. And when you got, pardon me, when you got 4 just means like Thor or form or you know what I'm saying, form or the ability to carry something from one aspect or one astral travel to the other. So it's a force, it's a spaceship or a form of travel. Form, can't escape that word, form, like thought forms and everything. So 4. So metaphor. You met a form for the first time, so you went into a new space or a scenario and experienced the shape and form to figure out a form of information for the first time. So this gives you the sense of wanting to do some form of intellect, detective work, or some investigation to try to figure this out. So that's a metaphor. So when someone uses a metaphor, a lot of times this is like a witch, a person who uses this is a witch. A person could use a metaphor to utilize you to have a lack of words, so you can't have no comeback, and then the comeback can't even be logical. So for the most part, that's a person who's utilizing that energy. But in the 3rd dimension, a lot of witches used to do this, and witches who have cats. That's why it came from the energy of the cat. The cat got your tongue, and the witch's cat. But just in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, that's just what it is. When a person could intellectually utilize a metaphor to make your ass have a loss of words. You know what I'm saying? Because in the 3rd dimension, you know what I'm saying, this is the illusion. So a lot of times when you utilize metaphors, a lot of times these actually make more sense than what's actually going on in the 3rd dimension. This is why a lot of times philosophers and things of that nature utilize metaphors to make sense out of a sentence or a circumstance or a scenario or a debate. You see what I'm saying? So this is why y'all have to understand things on a higher level. But when we talk about afterlife, so like I said, afterlife, when we talk about life, this is an expansion. So an expansion for you to even come here to be born into this life. Your mother womb had to expand. So and then she started having contractions. So you died from within her and came out and got birthed out of here. The same way that you have went into you went into your father's thoughts and ideas and concepts, because that was a cloud he may have emitted in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. So as your spirit being in space traveling there, you travel based upon what you resonated with. Whatever idea or thought was on your father's head was something that you may have resonated with. So you went into that world, aka that cloud, that light, that conscious, and depending on how long that your father developed it as paying attention to that habit or idea and concept, that's going to be how many times you can die and take different shapes and forms and fluids within your father, and come all the way out until you become until you take the shape and form of a sperm cell. And then as your spirit can utilize one of those vessels and come out, and then you could go into the 2nd dimensional world as your mother, into your mother, and then come out in the 3rd dimensional world. But you need to know that this is a process of you based upon your spirit coming from 0 first. Not 1 dimension, not 2nd dimension, and not the 3rd dimension. So for the most part, when you're going to experience the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, this is what a lot of y'all be trying to call the heaven or the astral realm and things of that nature. So you're developing a shape and form, which is the afterlife. This is why I'm telling y'all, this is why all my videos is about developing a spaceship, because you're developing and creating your afterlife. So a lot of things you're detaching from now, you're subconsciously training your brain to go into a light that don't have those same experiences that you're detaching from now. That you're detaching from now. So when I say afterlife, a lot of y'all afterlife be here, because a lot of shit that be on your mind on your deathbed be a lot of shit that's formulated from here. So you end up coming, but this be your afterlife. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you hear people say, I ain't coming back, or things of that nature, that's their spirit trying to tear their body to come up with a shape and form and detach from certain ideas and things of that nature here. So 9 times out of 10, when you hear a person say, I ain't coming back here, that 9 times out of 10, that common person is going through circumstances and situations that they are tired of, aka shit that is created from this realm of reality. So they are detaching from them circumstances and situations in order to not experience those situations no more. You may be in a relationship that carry out certain characteristics that your past relationship carried out. So you start detaching yourself from that relationship because you don't want to experience that relationship no more, just in the 3rd dimension. So what the fuck you think you doing 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional wise? You're preparing your spaceship. So the more you detach and do the art of deduction here, the more you're going to develop a spaceship that don't involve the same imaginations and concepts and thoughts that you was attaching to here, based upon family, friends, and scenarios and circumstances. So the moment you don't have your own imagination, your own thought, your own concept that God gave you, that you're supposed to have in this imagination, the moment you're not going to be able to fly off freely. Your conscious light body you created in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension going to be so heavy that light going to look just like this light. So when you die, you go back into this goddamn light. AKA, if you had your own imagination, your own thought, and your own way of developing your spaceship and concept and coming up with your own idealistic way of understanding which was right for you spiritually, what's true for you, how it can be perfect for you, and not how it's perfect for someone else, because then that's when things will never be perfect. You see what I'm saying? Because someone else is not perfectly you. Someone else's space and spirit is not perfectly in your space or location. So this is how you know you're separate spiritually. You see what I'm saying? So if you're not able to develop that, you're not able to go and create a better afterlife for yourself. You have to create a better afterlife for yourself. There's not going to be a savior to come help you create a better afterlife. You're just going along with something externally, and you're creating your afterlife to be here. But as spirits, we all have the ability to create an afterlife. That's what you need to understand. And really, that's some Lucifer shit in general, because you ain't really supposed to be wake forever in general. You know what I'm saying? Some being woke is some shit we created. You need to understand that this body that you are in right now is what you created. This is why you can't stay woke. You always go back to sleep. And going back to sleep is you going back into the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. But a lot of y'all is so attached to the shit in the 3rd dimension that world look like this world. That's why every time you get ready to do something that you really want to do, have sex, get money, or do something that you genuinely want to do in the 3rd dimension, the moment you get ready to do that in the dream world, when you sleep, you wake up or something like that. You get nervous, you get scared because you constructed that. Like I said, the 3rd dimension is something that we all collectively agree on. So if we all collectively agree on buildings and shapes and heights and things of that nature, then there's laws that we all agree on. So jumping off a building in the 3rd dimension ain't gonna make no goddamn sense. But in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, or when your ass go to sleep and have a dream, your ass gonna be on top of a building, which you created that building there based upon what we all created in the 3rd dimension as being weight. But that's your true state of being, and you created that building. But the moment your ass gets scared and nervous of jumping off of it, that's giving you an example that you are attached to too much of the 3rd dimension. So you end up waking up. You will jump off, but before you hit the ground, you wake up. Or a lot of y'all hit the ground. A lot of y'all wake up before you jump off. But just that feeling and emotion that you would get in the 3rd dimension, you end up having that. You end up dragging that light and information into your subconscious realm in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. Then when you dream, you got that same emotion and feeling, and then that's just your loss in the 3rd dimension, not knowing that you're not going to die there. You know what I'm saying? You created that building and feeling an emotion about it in general. You know what I'm saying? In the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. So you see what I'm saying? You got to understand it from a higher level. But if you was a person who are subconsciously training your brain, especially when you woke, that this is an illusion in general, then when you dream and go to the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, you won't even be having punk ass dreams like that anyway. You won't be having punk ass dreams that's dealing with money and shit like that. You'll be having other dreams of flying and shit that's truly make your spirit feel good, and shit that will be a good imagination if it was to play out in the 3rd dimension. Otherwise, you know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all get enticed by shit that's 3rd dimensional wise when y'all go to sleep. And then y'all think that's a good thing, but then it got y'all vibrating real slow in y'all dreams and shit like that. And y'all dreams is really just a duplicate of this fucking shit that y'all all collectively want to be woke on and shit like that. Like, yeah, I don't be making sense a lot of times. But that you need to know the dream when you go to sleep. That's the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, and you go by what you resonate with. You know what I'm saying? And then you create off that. You create being consciously aware of what you resonate with. So if you are awoke right now and you always are consciously aware of being in fear in some way, shape, or form, that is you're training your subconscious brain. So when you go to sleep, right, and then go back into your natural state, your dream world, and you're floating around the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, your state of being is carrying a light body of fear. So you end up creating a world of fear. And then ain't no telling what shape and form. Like how many bodies you been in and woke up in. You might be experiencing an experience that you had when you was 10 bodies ago, before this body. You know what I'm saying? And then you might have been a fly or something like that and get chased by a big ass dragonfly or big ass dragon or something like that. And you wake up and be like, man, I was getting chased by something big, but I couldn't really move or whatever like that. You was having an experience that you had previously before. You know what I'm saying? Not even in this body. But since you was resonating in the energy signature of fear, you just made that world up and made it look like whatever dimension that you was woke in at a time. But at the same time, the only thing you know that was the initial state was you being in the energy signature of fear. You know what I'm saying? Now, you can switch the frequency and be in a lot of different energy signatures and train your subconscious minds to experience that. But your true godly state is having no feeling and emotion at all. Just going off the experience, a true new experience. Then going off that, you're resonating with some type of new energy. Then you get to experience new shit subconsciously. So you end up being aware of new shit and developing new spaceships and shit like that and bringing new knowledge to the third dimension. Like I'm very aware of my dreams because that is the afterlife, before life. Life in general, or it's not even life, how y'all want to call it. That's the state of being before transformation. Then once you create a shape and form, you get into a time, you get into a expiring, you get into a transformation. Something has to be developed in order to go into and start to transfer. You get into that nature. But for the most part, your spirit ain't got nothing to do with none of that kind of shit. Your spirit is just being, your state of being. You just be. And based upon what you resonate with, that travels you through the astral realm. Now, I got plenty of videos on teaching y'all how to train or create conscious bodies that is subconscious. You know what I'm saying? So you can know how to travel in the subconscious realm. You see what I'm saying? The same way y'all got directions in the third dimension, it's the same way in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension is directions. And you move, and it's the same way as moving. But it's slightly different. It goes based upon resonation. Now, what you mean? This is what I mean. If you want to move forward, like say you want to look forward and you move forward in the third dimension. In the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, you got to feel like you're moving forward. So you have to feel. Now you have to add a lot of elements and signatures and consciousness in order to be aware of a portal, to be like, oh, I'm traveling through the astral realm. So you got to add a little accomplishment energy. You got to add a little overcoming energy. You got to add a little foresight energy. You got to add a little bit of faith-like energy. And those chemical alchemists you mix up in a pot create like a portal in the astral realm that you can kind of sense a little bit, because you're always creating in the astral realm. You're just no thing. You're no shape and form. You're just a space, your spirit, your individual bubble. So once you create that, boom, you could that allows you to create some type of portal in the astral realm, a sense of forwardness. Then that's how you move forward in the astral realm, right? Say you want to move up, right? You have to add the elements and accliments and draw in from the other parts of the universe of the mixture of optimism. You know what I'm saying? Feeling happy, high, fly, having some type of eyesight, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be dealing with seas and waters again right there, and highs and tides again like that. Add all these optimism, add all these elemental energies, right? And then boom, that allows you to move up in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. That's how you move up. You got to have a strong mentality. Think about how much you're persuaded in the third dimension, and how much your subconscious mind is already trained by being persuaded based upon familiarity, people you're attached to, memories you have with them, experience, things you may owe people, debt you may owe and shit like that. You're persuaded in so many goddamn ways. That's why you even got a job, right? You see what I'm saying? Now in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, this shit is deep. You have a strong mentality. You know what I'm saying? So you're developing your spaceship and oh shit. Pardon me. Let me take this motherfucker. So it's about developing your own spaceship. In third dimension, y'all are persuaded. In the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, that's just you getting washed in different attributes, in different locations. God damn, hold on a second. Weather is changing this motherfucker. But goddamn. Like I said, you want to move. That's how you move up. Say you want to move to the right. Say you want to move to the right in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, right? You have to add the element energies of whatever you think to be something righteous or something rightfully for you or something that's right for you. And it can't be right for someone else. It just had to be truly you going into your own aspect, moral system, and faith of thinking what's truly right for you. And see, a lot of y'all be attached in the third dimension. A lot of shit. Y'all, whatever y'all think be right for y'all, y'all go what y'all think is what makes y'all comfortable or what's comfortable to be right. So if y'all think a large majority of people think something right, that's what y'all think right. They're back to that persuasion again. Back to that persuasion. Then you, since the majority of something thinking right, you would think you have to go preach that righteousness to someone else. And you would truly subconsciously train your mind to thinking you're doing the right thing, preaching something to someone else. And you don't understand that that's not truly right. And especially if you're not in the right state of being yourself. You know what I'm saying? So in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, you have to understand that first, and that's how you actually move right. Otherwise, your ass getting hit by asteroids and shit, and you don't technically move out the way to the right in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. So in the third dimension, it plays as you getting proved wrong or something like that, or you constantly going through debates and you not being right and shit like that, and you just thinking you right, and you adding worry and other shit to your soul because you think other people don't get it or something like that. So it's like this religious shit to go deep. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you want to move down, see, you have to utilize all these. Y'all would think doing something down or disjustice wise in the third dimension, y'all might have been taught that doing similar things like this is wrong. In the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, this shit is needed. You got to know how to move in a room full of vultures. You know what I'm saying? Each animal take the shape and form and live in the conditions that the frequency vibration that the music is dancing on each sphere. This is why a bird live in that existence, and then you live in your existence down here, whatever like that, and it goes in different frequency vibrations. So say if you want to move down in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, you have to be in a circumstance, in a situation where you feel down, you feel depressed, you feel you feel down, you feel depressed, or you feel dense, or you feel heavy, or see what I'm saying, or you feel like you need to carry something, and that's how you move down. Or you feel low vibrational wise, so you feel like you want to add a lot more idea, or add a lot more energy to something, or just to float down in general, or feel depressed. That's the root systematic truth of it. Or feel a downing energy, or drown yourself or something, like drown yourself in your way of going forward. That's how you move down, and that's how you move down in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. You see what I'm saying? Say you want to move left. If you want to move left, you have to do something left field. Do something that's radical. Do something that's opposing. Do something that they would call Satan-like, but it ain't Satan-like. It's just opposing. Anybody could be a Satan. Soon somebody oppose your goddamn religion, they're a Satan. So it doesn't even fucking matter. So for the most part, you in a circumstance, in a situation where that's how you move left in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. You know what I'm saying? And then if you want to move backwards, then you feel regret, or you feel like leaving something behind, or you feel like you don't technically want to leave the space and travel in the next space yet. That's how you move back a little bit. And all these are needed to move sufficiently in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension realm. You know what I'm saying? So this kind of giving you an understanding that it's backed and supported by feelings and emotions. It's backed and supported by the subconscious. It's backed and supported by the feminine nature. You know what I'm saying? So the is this the overall feminine, then the masculine. You know what I'm saying? 987, then you got the 654, then you got the 3, 2, 1, and we all come from the 0 and do that bounce jump roping from 0, 9, 0, 9, 0, 9, 0, 9 in each body that you go into. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you always come down. You know what I'm saying? This is how the pyramids is constructed. This is how your body is constructed. And this is how the mentality is constructed. And this is how the scheme is constructed. How the houses is constructed. And how we create all the bodies and the concepts. So when y'all hear y'all concepts of the number 7, y'all know the number 7 is dealing with becoming an individual, becoming a soul, becoming or creating a light body, or going into the one dimension in some way, shape, or form. Or when we talk about the Elohim, or the 7 number, or the 7 light spectrums, or the 7 concepts, or the 7 chakras, or the 7 feeling spectrums, this is coming from spirits who have learned how to do this before you. And these spirits have came from the 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension. So they came from the end, or the beginning, or the wise, or the wisdom, or the wizardry, or the creation, or the super fast fiery aspect of the inner, not even fiery, but the not even electricity, but the infinite enlightenment, the infinite as infogress or transformation, 9, right? Then they want to experience fruits and labor or imagination or sustainment or time within that, a body, a shape and form. That's why you got the 2 O's. This one becomes 8, right? Then they want to become an individual out of that. So they want to become an individual deity. Now, these are spirits already. So you become a spirit in the 1 dimension, but I'm explaining the spirits that created the astral heavens or the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional realm. This is what you need to understand. So now, as these spirits wanted to become individual from 7 and 8, as I just explained, right? Here's where you get the 7. They box themselves out. So you get that one line when a spirit, and that's where you get the line, the phallus, the ankh, the opposition, the obstacle, the outside going in, something going in the womb or something like that. This is where we get all that concept beyond any physical shape and form of wording that you're trying to pertain it to in the 3rd dimension. This right here, this is this space going within space at this moment. That's why you're in a dimension where you can see billions and trillions, or just you look at it as overall space, but it's space within space. This is why you got trillions and billions of numbers you can count. You see what I'm saying? The shapes and forms you could differentiate from. That's how you let you know how low in the dimension that you are in. You're not in the lowest one though, because all y'all ain't rubbing shoulders together, but goddamn y'all almost is with y'all mental bodies here. This is why y'all in a fight for space, no matter what frequency vibration y'all are in. But for the most part, getting back to the 7, right? You get a being that boxes itself out and want to become an individual. So here's where you get that first line, right? But then everything has to do things in the 3, in the rotation, in the trine, because once it boxes itself out, it has to be aware of itself, right? Become an individual, right? Then it has to relate that, aka relate that to a realm or reflect that, bouncing off of itself, and then it has to become whole. And then now it's a whole square, a 90-degree square, and that's where you get the 7, and the individual. But the individual represents the frequency of the number that y'all want to call 1 down here. But in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, that's just something becoming an individual, which is a spirit becoming a soul, which is the most lightest form for the spirit to be aware of itself. It's not even, it's still space, but it's just your individual space. You're a bubble, like how I try to explain to y'all, right? In this astral rainbow waters, right? So boom, and then that's a 90-degree, and it's a square, so that deals with 4. You know what I'm saying? This is where we get the cardinal signs at. In the cardinal signs, the 4 angles is always going against each other, and this is where that whole concept in that astral world, before things get aligned out and became shape and form and can become transits, it was just alignment and imagination first. That's how the astral realm is created. This is why the astral realm is created off frequency. I'm breaking it down to y'all, right? So that 7, right? That's why it's a 9th and 8th and 7th dimensional being, but it broke itself off from the wisdom, wanted to experience that womb, that realm, the 2 circles coming together, 2 energies, the 8, the time, the fruits and labor, right? Then it want to box itself off to experience its own imagination world like that, right? So boom, that's when it boxes itself off. That's when it becomes the 1 or whatever like that. But it's a 7. If it's a 7th dimensional being by default right now at this stage, but then it boxes itself off. Now to be aware of itself, right, it has to become an individual, relate that, reflect that, right, then become whole with that, because it has 2 sides, and bring those 2 sides together, right? Then by default, that created a 4 square. Y'all see how I just did that? That created the 4 square. So it became a 7th dimensional being that became 4th dimensional, as creating the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional aspect and awareness of itself, right? And it becomes an individual, which is the 1 spectrum. So this is where you get the connection of 1, 4, and 7. You know what I'm saying? And 1, 4, and 7 is always the beginning stages of the trine stages, because you have 1, 2, 3, boom. You have 4, 5, 6, boom. You have 7, 8, 9, boom. So you see how it's correlating to a system right here? Then you have the heaviest one down here, the midsection one up here, then the lightest one up here. So now you see the Elohim came from the light one, right? Then they created the subconscious, right? And now you got the conscious. So that's how you get frequency, vibration, energy. Unconscious, subconscious, conscious. You see what I'm saying? No nothingness, no thing, no shape and form, like your spirit, your space, and all that shit. And then and then you get yin, and then you get yang. You know what I'm saying? That's why yin is correlated to subconscious, yang is correlated to conscious. You know what I'm saying? And that's where you get motherfucking then you get the overall aspect, then you get the feminine, and then you get the masculine. You know what I'm saying? So this is giving you a concept that the frequency vibration is something that we're relating to, and we're creating the 3rd thing, because the 3rd thing is the shape and form. So the 3rd thing is where all things can become non-physical to physical. That's the system of the 3rd thing. So the 3rd thing is the yang, the conscious, the masculine, the shape and form, the energy. You know what I'm saying? So here's where you get Here's where you also get space, time, energy. The energy came later because space is your spirit, and to experience that puts your spirit automatically, your space by default, that automatically puts it into experiencing, which is the vibration. You know what I'm saying? Which is the time. You got time in that frequency, you got time in that space, time to be aware of your own space. So that developed fluids, experience, subconscious, all that, you know what I'm saying? And then that vortex is what created the energy, the shape and form, the gas, the light, the bacteria, the sense, the overall what y'all seeing here, and things of that nature. So that's the creation, but the frequency vibration is the creator. So you are the creator, taking the shape and form of the creation. And you see this in all religions, all spirituality, all systems and everything. So you're doing the same thing. So you're just reading the history story of something that's doing what you're doing right now. So then you have a micro, macro. You have a large aspect of this and a small aspect of this. So if you were small and you came out of something and grew to the same capacity of what you were small within, then that lets you know what concept of flow and what kind of system you're on at the moment. You are in something that's bigger than you, and you're going to get birthed out of that into the same capacity. You see what I'm saying? So before y'all get lost into y'all other religious concepts and theologians and apologetics of it and things of that nature, you need to understand the systematic truth of everything. And that's why I'm Archangel Uriel. See what I'm saying? But that's the actual concept of afterlife. So you're always going to have an afterlife, but a lot of y'all might dormant yourself, get extra secluded, get extra separate, to the point that the shape and form you're creating for yourself in the afterlife may not be no life. A lot of y'all might be like right now, subconsciously training your mind like there is no afterlife. So that's the afterlife you're creating, a life that ain't no life. So you go into a shape and form. You may be a birth defect, a baby that come out. Soon as you come out, you die or something like that. Or you may not ever experience the full potential of an experience. So even if you do get born again, you may not ever be the type of spirit that breathe life into anything. So all your experiences or circumstances that you try to get into it ain't no life in it, aka you don't experience the positivity of it. You know what I'm saying? So all your situations is dead. The family you created to be born into is a family you ain't want to be born into. You could never experience anything that your dreams and imagination and your spirit want to experience. You got all problems and troubles. You don't want to be here. You might even create a scenario where you start feeling like you might want to kill yourself. You might be the type of person who kill yourself, and then now you in that routine and pattern over and over again. And then killing yourself, don't even seclude that to religion. But if the meanings and reasonings to why you killed yourself is what matters, and then if there's a bunch of dumbass shit on that, man, you just in a bottomless pit. Keep creating shapes and forms of the realm of reality that you was in, till you get tired of it, until you end up taking a shape or form that creates scenarios that make you refuse everything that you was just experiencing those eons and eons of years as being a dumbass lost spirit. See what I'm saying? Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air. I'm here for y'all.